Theoretically, I should be starting, and we're here having tea. Right.
Tell me when.
Out. I'm broadcasting, but it's not showing up on my other phone. Why is it not showing up on my other phone?
So, we're already here. Okay, we already have a teapot. Let's first heat it up a little.
Have I got my data on? The data is on. Yeah. I'm sorry if everybody's watching.
Yeah.
Technical issues. I might have to ask my host to put on his and go onto my channel, because yes, I think possibly that's the best option at the moment.
What do I have to do?
Go to YouTube.
Yeah. Okay.
It's embarrassing, folks. Go to YouTube.
I'm going to YouTube.
Okay, and channel name is Simon. Simon.
Wait. I'm not good with YouTube.
Okay. Bear with us, folks. This week on Simon's Living Room, the usual technical difficulties.
Here we go.
Okay.
Simon and then?
No. C-H-A.
C-H-A?
No. No. Cha. No. Ma. M-A.
So N-O-C-H-A?
No. C-H-A.
Yeah.
N-O.
N-O.
M-A.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to see. See, look. It's not appearing.
It's not. No. They took you offline, Simon. You're no longer there.
That's strange.
I don't find it. Ah, here we go. I think I am. Yeah, no. It's a connection, I think. Wi-Fi will work better.
Yes, yes. If you're on Wi-Fi, then
It's gonna be better.
yeah. It was like the spinning circle of death for connection there. I saw.
Okay.
Simon,
Here we are.
Oh, we are live, right?
Yeah, we are
We
live.
can go into comments. Sorry, well, I am live, and we have been boring the audience for the past few minutes. Welcome. I'll just flip the camera. Yes, we are there. Is there anybody watching? Can't tell. You can go into comments. Oh, it's Robert. Hello, Robert. It's one of my old YouTube colleagues.
Okay.
Anyway, this is the man who has saved the day.
I'm a record producer. I'm not like a movie producer.
So we're about to indulge in some top quality Japanese green tea.
Yes.
Sencha.
Yeah, very good quality sencha. It's yummy. Very good tea shop in Antwerp, actually, and it's a Japanese guy who started importing because he couldn't find the proper quality in Belgium. So.
Oh well, yes, it's not renowned for green tea fields in Belgium.
No, it's not very well known for it. But I have to say, I'm a very big sencha lover, and but also matcha. To be honest, I like Chinese tea too. But
yes.
don't talk about that. We won't. So here we go. We have like a perfect steeped sencha.
Hello. Just another viewer. Hello, still no guitar. That's a German chap who watches. So.
Is it Guten Tag? Guten Tag. Wie geht's?
Right, I'll take this. You take that.
Yeah.
Studio.
Watch out! Don't fall.
Right, I'll move over here. Look, sort of studio stuff, music, all that, and the sound has got suddenly better because we're the soundproofing.
We're in the soundproof room, of course. It's
Oh, there was a yes. I think moving from the kitchen to the soundproof room caused some kind of weird thing.
Is it
connection? But anyway,
yeah, we're back.
Put that there.
We're back. Anyway,
right. If I occasionally glance away, it's me looking at. A little oolong tea goes well with dim sum, says.
Oh, with dim sum, yeah. But then again, we're drinking sencha, not oolong.
Yes, this is true.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Actually, we should do it this way.
Well, I've got. I can only do it with one, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's nice. It brings back memories.
Brings back memories. I've only been once to Japan, but I have to say it was a fantastic experience. And I still remember, like, I play in a band, and so we were playing at a festival, and I still remember our drummer kind of coming back from town, you know, like we went out shopping. He said like, "Oh, I hate all these rules. It's really terrible." And I said like, "Oh, I love all these rules. It's so well organized.
Yes, and clean and tidy and
It's clean,
polite.
it's quiet." And it's like we were in Tokyo, and it was like when I got there, I thought like, this is such a weird experience. You're in like a huge city, and it's quiet and it's clean, and it's like, you know, and everybody waits. And I loved it actually. And I have to say, the backliners, like, you know, the guys who were like handling guitars, and they were amazing. Like, they made our set list, you know, they kind of made it and they laminated it. And they,
so it's not just stuck with sellotape on a bit of paper.
And then first they kind of with like with a felt pen, you know, like a fluo one, you know, like they kind of first kind of made that it was all very kind of like noticeable on stage, and then they kind of like laminated it, and then just to annoy them, I said like, "Nah, we're gonna change the set list." And then they were like, "Oh no!" I said like, "No, joking. I'm just joking." But I have to say, I was So I went there like, and the first day I said to all the rest of the guys, "It's like, guys, leave me alone. Today is my tea day."
That's a good idea.
And I luckily I knew somebody from Belgium who was already went to Tokyo, and she gave me all the kind of like the place. A lot of money.
So she had a green skirt and reasonable. It was only like €5. It was like €5 or something like that. So
and then when I got older, I worked a lot in London, and then of course you had the PJ tips and stuff. And I thought like, there has to be something better than that.
Yes.
And so I started looking, and so that's how I got into tea. And I have a Chinese friend who has like a very nice Chinese tea shop, but I also to tell him like, "Hey, Changwei, there is also very good, very nice Japanese tea," and then he's immediately shuts up. Whatever he says. Like,
Rivalry.
What I think is cool is about tea is like I always. It's a bit like wine, you know. Like it's. I don't like aromatized tea. I really want pure tea, just the tea leaf, and then I'm just always so amazed how different it can taste. You know, it's all the Camellia sinensis and whatever, you know.
Yeah, the different part of the leaf gives a different...
which part of the leaf, but also which altitude, which soil, how they treat it. Like in Japan, they mostly steam the leaves for green tea. In China, they would fire them in a wok, you know, like to kind of stop them from wilting. And it all tastes completely different. And then, you know, like matcha is, for instance, like...
Yes, it's like eating foam, drinking foam. It's
weird.
But
but it's also with matcha, I think, like, you know, a lot of people say, I don't like it. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably because you didn't get good one. You know, the good quality is very important. I walked into the Japanese tea store, and there were like two older ladies, and they were like just looking at the matcha, and then they finally ordered it. And I said like, why do you order it? Do you like it? And they said like, no. We hate it. And I said like, why do you drink it? Oh, a lot of antioxidants. It's very good for your skin. I said like, oh, okay.
It's a bit like the Fernie Branca story from last time.
Exactly. It's very good for the stomach.
So you've only been once to Japan. Was that? I mean, and that was to do a concert.
Yeah, that was for a gig. That was for a gig, and I have to say, it's quite a long flight. You know, I stayed a couple of days more, so we finally were like 5 days in Tokyo or something. So that was kind of okay. You know? But every time my wife always is like very jealous, and she says like, "Oh, we need to go to Japan," and I said like, "Yeah, but you're a teacher, you know, like we can go in July and August. That's not the best months.
No,
you know?
Absolutely not.
You should go in spring or in fall, you know. Like I would love to go in fall, to be honest, in autumn. And but yeah, so we're still waiting. I said to her like, you have to go like on paid leave for a year, you know, and then we can travel the world, you know, like
loopbaanonbreking. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly. So So, but yeah, there's so much to see in Japan. It's such a big country,
Yeah.
and it's like so many people as well. So yeah, but I'm still not that old. I still have time.
Yes,
I always tell myself I still have time.
Right. Still no guitar from Germany is saying that summer is hell.
Summer is yeah.
Yes, he goes regularly to Japan
Yeah.
for work. So yeah.
A guy from like a Belgian guy who was living there already a long time. He took us to a okonomiyaki place,
Oh yes,
where
lovely. Yes,
that was a lot of fun, because whenever there was a bell and whenever we pushed the bell, the whole kitchen staff said hi. And that was for us like a culture shock. We were like, why did they do that? And then somebody said like, well, let's try it twice. Ding ding, hi. So and then like. That's what I love about traveling, you know. Not only Japan, it's like, you get to a place and then all these local customs, and I'm always very intrigued by it. And but also the okonomiyaki is just, it was full of flavor. It's
Did you make it yourself on the plates?
Yeah, it was a proper place. That's a good thing because we travel as a band. We get to places where we meet local people and they know where to go. It's like if you come to St. Nicholas and you're not from around, and you would have to pick a place to eat or whatever, or a bar. It's very difficult to kind of be.
Yeah, it's potluck then, isn't it?
It is. It's not like in Italy where wherever you walk in, you probably eat quite decent, But like in most places, you need somebody local, and that's the good thing about touring, like there's always local people, So there's also a lot of snobbery in tea, I have to say. At some point, I think there's also limits to. I met a guy like who was like a production manager for a festival in Antwerp, and before our soundcheck, he organized a tea ceremony, and I said like, I like my Yunnan green from my friend in St. Nicholas, and he was like, but that's not good enough quality. And I'm like, come on, man, that's already very good quality. Probably there's either better, of course, but it's also about taste. And then he said, like, no, I go to Germany to buy my tea. And so, like, so you take your car and you drive for 4 hours? Yeah, but there is the best place. So, yeah, I think so. Ecologically, it's not good to drive 4 hours for a cup of tea, I think.
No, that's, yes, it's not in this day and age, anyway.
No. But I have to say, I know a couple of good places. Touring for 30 years, there's in Budapest, is a very good place. There's a good place in Prague that I know where I always go to. There's also a lot of places where you...
Oh, you have to, tell me about the one in Prague, because my son is planning to go there in May on a road trip.
I have to look up the name, but it's really in the center. So whenever you're in the center, like I can give you it's a nice shop, It's the one in Budapest in Hungary is actually that's really like top notch. I hope it's still there because it was 2 years ago that I was there last. So we're going in spring we're going back. So hopefully it's still there because for me it's like coming home when I'm on the road for a month and I get to a town and I know like a tea place. Like when I'm there, it's kind of it's it gives me a warm feeling. Like fun. And nobody understands that. They're like a lot of people think like, what is he talking about? It's like, for instance, on our rider, it says that there needs to be Sparen, like a Belgian brand of water, and that's to make tea. Because on the road, like otherwise tap water is horrible.
Yes,
you need filtered water. At least you need Brita water or something. But like Sparen is very good. And so last year we were in Milan for a show. And I was looking on a bottle of Aquapana what the mineral content was.
Yes.
And it's very high. And I was like looking, this is not going to work. And there's this girl from hospitality saying like, what are you? Oh, no, wait. I found you this water. It's specially for you. And I'm like, why? Why do you think I need it? Obviously to make tea. How did you know that? Like it didn't say Sparen for tea. It just said Sparen.
On your requirement list.
And she said, like, I went online and I looked up a little bit about Sparen and I saw that tea lovers used it. So I thought, like, let's see why. And then she saw it had to be it had to be quite minimal mineralized, and then she went online, looked it up for Italy, and she came up with I think Santa Anna it's called or something. And,
Wow!
And so
she's a very professional lady.
I have to say that was one of the most beautiful presents I ever got on tour, and the rest on the tour, the rest of the band are like, what? Why are you so excited? It's only water. It's not only water. It's like the vessel that will take my tea to the next level.
Yes, imagine like we were talking about gin last night. You can have like a really crappy gin, and you can have really good quality gin.
I drink the crew. They ask always gin, and then they ask a bottle of tonic, and then on the tour bus they start like mixing it, and then I take the bottle of gin and I just take like a small glass of gin, and then they look at me. Do you drink that pure? So. Yeah, of course, it's Genever, but then the English way of Genever, it's an aromatized alcoholic, like white spirit kind of like drink, and I said, like, it's the only way to see if it's good, if you drink it pure, then you can really taste it. If you put tonic water,
it could be anything,
it could be whatever. So that's why I was always a little kind of a little bit disappointed in the English Queen, like G&T. Why not pure? Why not straight? Like straight gin. It's like, well, that's maybe not a good idea at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
All right, Still No Guitar is saying that I'm kind of blessed with the tap water here, very soft and not much minerals, very tasty.
Okay, then he's very lucky.
Yes,
that is not very often. In some Dutch cities you have it as well, but here in Belgium,
and certainly in Sint Niklaas, ever. No.
Belgium, Ghent, also not. Antwerp, Brussels, terrible. No, it's all too much calcium in the water, so it's not good for tea. So where is he living? Still No Guitar?
Yeah, Still No Guitar. What city is that? Just in case they go on tour there.
Yeah, exactly. then I can say like, well, you don't need to find me like Spider. It's like. No, but it's I don't know. It's like for me, tea is also like it's also it's an addiction. I'm 30 years in a band. I'm 30 years touring worldwide, and it's the only addiction I have.
That's a very healthy addiction, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I drink like at least 3 liters a day, so I don't know if that's healthy. I don't know if that's healthy.
Okay, no, that's...
So I get up in the morning. I get in and I just kind of make me a matcha, and that's
close to Gießen. In the very middle of Germany.
Oh, right in the middle.
GIE, special German S thing and EN. Not quite sure how. But
he likes oolong better than sencha.
Yeah.
No, good oolong, nothing wrong. I still remember, like a long time ago, I went to a Chinese tea place and I ordered like milky oolong, and the guy looked at me like, "Are you kidding? Are you really gonna order that kind of? No, you need this oolong." And then I didn't have a choice. He just made me an oolong. That's how I learned about oolong. Although I have to say Taiwanese. In Milan, there's a very good shop for Taiwanese oolong. And you see, I traveled.
Well, yes. I mean, before you, I'll have to explain. This is. We haven't really established who you are.
No, you didn't even like introduce me. I'm like a record producer from Sint Niklaas.
Yes. By the way, everybody, this is Alex Callier. Who is the founder of Hooverphonic, which I mentioned in the advert and everything. But for those who have maybe just joined or watching after the event, Hooverphonic, a band from the town where I live in, Sint Niklaas in Belgium, and they became very famous.
In '96, we were like featured on a Bertolucci movie, and then in 2000, Mad About You came out, and since then we've been like. It's but like it's very people like sometimes when you sold like in countries were very underground. Germany difficult market. So maybe no more guitar, or what was it? What's his name?
Still no guitar.
Still no guitar. Maybe he can start like doing some promo for us in
Right.
the middle
Yes.
of Germany.
He lives 60 kilometers north of Frankfurt.
Ah, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So,
I got stuck twice on the Frankfurt airport this year. I have to say, I saw like a rat running at 5 o'clock in the morning. I saw a rat in the airport. I was like, then I was like thinking like, yeah, that means there's a lot of people coming through this.
I once transited there on the way to Japan. Yeah, it's huge.
It's a huge airport.
I had to get a bus from one part of it to the other.
Yeah. So, do you actually like Sencha, or are you more like PG Tips kind of guy?
I'm afraid to say I'm a kind of like a PG. I have green tea,
okay,
and I drink every morning. I drink just chamomile. But occasionally during the day I might have a.
Shouldn't you drink chamomile before you go to sleep?
It's to calm my nerves, basically.
Why are you so nervous?
Oh, I'm just generally sort of nervous person.
Always been.
Yeah, I mean, and in when I go to work and stuff like that, stress.
I don't have that. I can play like in sold out venues. I get on stage and I don't feel stress anymore. For me, it's very. Yeah, it became like that because of course at the beginning when you start playing, it's very stressful. But
yeah, I mean, what made you do? What made you? I mean, you how long were you playing, sort of music? Before you sort of decided this is going to be what I want to do?
I think I was 8 when I went to music school, and I started playing piano when I was 9, and when I was 10 I started writing music on the piano.
Oh, right.
And by the time I was 12, I decided I wanted to be a musician. Which is, it's like, it's kind of like, it's very bizarre, I think. I don't think there's a lot of kids who at 10 know what they want to be.
No. I mean, they have an idea, a fantasy idea of what they want to be, but yeah.
Well, you have some kids who are really good at football or at like sports or stuff like that. But that was my idea, and then by the time I was like 14, I started playing in bands. And I was always like, the leader of the band, always organizing it and making sure that we were rehearsing and trying to find like gigs and stuff like that. By the time I was 15, I got into producing actually. Then I thought, I want to learn that actually recording music is a technical language. So I want to know that to kind of be able to communicate with engineers when we were recording. And by the time I was 17, actually, I went to Brussels to film school.
That's a bit of a switch. That's good.
Yeah, no, it's weird, but I have to say, we're talking about 1990 in Belgium. Back then, there was not really like a sound engineering school. If that would have existed, like nowadays, you have it in Hasselt, you have it in Ghent, and you have production in Ghent.
So it was a way in. It was a way into getting into that sort of.
It was a way to kind of learn audio engineering a different way. Yeah. And so I got, at first I was a bit kind of, I have to say, well, maybe a little kind of like disappointed that I had to go to film school. I couldn't go to like engineering. In London, so basically I went there, and that's where I got the idea of my band Hooverphonic, because Hooverphonic was like a combination of soundtracks and soundscapes with pop music. And it's actually like a professor, like Wally Vermeersch, his name was, and he kind of got me into kind of weird music, kind of like, Pierre-Henry, musique concrète, and all that stuff.
Oh, right, yeah.
And that gave me the idea, like to kind of like start combining that. And at that time, in the beginning, like after we graduated, I started a band with a friend from school. And we both started sampling and stuff. Started working for the Belgian national television. He as a sound engineer for radio, me for television. And then I have to say we were quite lucky that we were capable of recording everything ourselves and to mix everything ourselves, because that like costs a lot of money. If you're a young band and you need demos, it's really expensive. Well, in those days it was expensive. You didn't have a laptop with a whole computer, a whole studio in a laptop. That was not the case. So,
but particularly for the style music that you were interested in doing, I would say. I mean,
Yeah, well, we
you know.
wanted like some kind of like electronic vibe, and to be honest, that was only possible because I started working for Belgian national television and made some money. And then the first thing I did was buying a synthesizer and a sampler and a computer, an old Atari. You know, you still remember Ataris.
Yeah.
And I had like the Atari, and then you know, like basically at some point, this is kind of a funny story. At some point, I finished work and I walked to my car and I saw these big EMT reverb plates. They're like big, like massive kind of things, and they make like in an analog way they make reverb, you know, to kind of put on vocals and to create space in a recording. And I saw them and it was starting to rain. I said like, what are these things doing here too? I went to like the supervisor. I said like, can I have them? Because we're gonna trash them. We're gonna put them like, you know, like if you have transport, if you can arrange it. He wrote me a note that I could pass through security, and so basically like I came home but my apartment was this size, you know, like, so I couldn't use them, and so I sold them for in those days. I'm talking about 93, 94, 95, I think it was. Yeah. I sold them for 5,000 euros.
Wow!
Back in those days, that's like, you know, was a lot of money, and that with that money actually we were able to buy all the equipment we needed and stuff, and then we were just lucky, I guess. Right time, right place. You know, like, okay, you know, like I'm probably good at what I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had this career. But you also need a little luck to be in the right time at the right place. There was a guy in London who actually like fell for. He was like an A&R in London for Sony. He fell off a wall at a party and broke his back.
Oy.
And after a year of recovering, he came back to the office and he found like this pile of like cassettes, you know, still cassettes in those days, and CDs. And he found this like handwritten from Cindy Klaas, you know, like Hoover, and he just played it and he liked it and he called me.
Wow. And that's just pure luck.
Yeah, just like, you know. But then again, like 1 week later, 4AD Records was interested as well, and then 1 week later, EMI England was also interested. So it's kind of a combination always, I think, of you have to have some you need some talent, you need some guts as well, you know.
Yeah. I mean, just as a side note, this was what, 94, 95?
We started in 95, 95.
With recording, so yeah. So were you gigging in Sint Niklaas around that time?
I was, yeah. We did like our first tryout. We did in Ollie's Corner. It was like a small bar, you know, like at this right at the station. It doesn't exist anymore. And we had like 2 English A&R guys coming over to see us in this cafe. So that was kind of like that was fun. Yeah. And then the next week we played like the proper kind of like, you know, showcase in where was it, in Willebroek, yeah. And then we had all these guys, all these international A&R guys, and they were landing in Brussels, and they had to get to Willebroek, and there was no GPS in those days, no iPhones, nothing. So that was a lot of fun. Like,
yes, it's bad enough with GPS, huh?
But you know, that night there was a guy, and he said like, I want to sign your publishing, and I was like, publishing? Well, what is publishing? You know, like I was 23 years old. I don't have a clue. He said like, yeah, well, you know, we try to kind of put your tracks in movies and commercials so that it, you know, like you get more exposure. And he says like, I think I can get that track, that Wiki track. I'll get it in a Bertolucci movie. We were like laughing, like, because you know, Flemish people tend to be like feet on the ground, very down to earth. So like, yeah, whatever. And then a week later he called, sold. It's in the movie. And so that kind of launched our career in the States. And,
wow.
So yeah, it was. But that's like 30 years ago this year. So
yeah, well, like I moved here in '96. So
oh well, yeah, '96 we released our first record in '96.
Oh, right,
yeah. Yeah, we wanted to sign to the UK, but we couldn't because we were living in Belgium, and Sony policy was you had to sign in the country where you were living. Oh. So we signed finally to Sony Belgium, but with good connections with London, of course. But So yeah,
But it's worked out better in the end, given the.
to be honest, like I think like it in the long run, it was a good decision to be like we were signed to a Belgian label, and so they gave us a lot of freedom. Like artistically, we could do whatever, you know. Like we were.
Still no guitar says, Simon, you could build him a proper tiled plate room.
Yeah.
No, I could. I'm rubbish at tiles. I mean,
Are you a handy guy?
No, not at all.
No.
I mean, if somebody can do it instead of me, then.
To be honest, I saw this little film on YouTube this week about Bob Clearmountain, and he had like a studio. Like Bob Clearmountain is like one of the most iconic mixers, sound engineers. He did like Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA, and he did all the big stuff in the 80s and 90s, Crowded House and stuff. But his studio actually, sadly enough, got destroyed in the fires in LA, in California, because he was not in LA. He was like more south. But he had like a proper echo chamber in his studio, And then like they were filming, and they walk into the echo chamber, and there's piles of boxes, and he said like, yeah, it became a storage room because now we can do that with the computer, So he sampled his echo chamber, and then he kind of used it as storage. But it's like an iconic studio that also went completely.
Yes, I didn't think about that. That there's lots of places in LA that
The place where I was, I forgot the name, is like very well known for the indie scene, like the indie music scene, and so a lot of studios apparently burned down. And he said like that. For him it's okay because he made a lot of money, so he kind of like he'll find another place. But he said like for a lot of indie artists it's just sad to kind of see all their hard work going down the drain, because of all these forest fires. And I always say to my wife, I said like, luckily we're living in Belgium. Probably a bit more boring and a bit more rain.
Yeah,
but
there's just a lot more rain.
But there's no forest fires. There is no floodings.
No earthquakes.
No earthquakes. It's like, although a lot of people say like in this room, this room is like completely box in a box. So we have like 9 tons of sand above our head.
You what?
9 tons of sand,
Oh my God!
It's very good.
No, you tell me.
It's very good to isolate like a room, and so.
Yes, I know that the density of the material it helps a lot, but I mean,
and the weight as well.
Yeah.
And so 9 tons of but if we close the doors, we can make noise what we want, and the neighbors don't hear it. Because we're like in a house, really like in a row, like we're not in a villa.
Yeah.
So,
I did once consider. I mean, when I bought a relatively nice microphone, and I did think about doing like voice acting at one point, and read up all about building my own sound booth. And I thought, it's just like
It's get it right. It's I built in 2017. I used to have a studio in the house next door where we live, but then like I had the opportunity to buy this house because the neighbors were like selling it. And my accountant said like, can you buy it? I said like, yeah, I could if I wanted. And I said like, you have to do that, Alex. It's like only once in a lifetime that you can buy the house next door. So I did actually, and it's nice to have a place to go to work to, because for most people don't know, but I get up in the morning at 6:30. I don't have kids, I just get up at 6:30, do a little sports, because I'm a bass player, so I need to make sure that like I'm in shape, and then I come to my studio, make my matcha in my kitchen, and I start working, and I work all day.
So this is your studio. I mean, for example, the band doesn't come here.
Sometimes they come here, but it's my private studio. But of course, like when we do recordings for the band, we use it. Like when I mix the records, so then I use it as well. But it's kind of like it's like I work a lot. I work a lot, and it's really weird. But the hit singles like "Mad About You" or "To Wiki" or "Anger Never Dies" or they actually were written in half an hour, and then a lot of people tell me like, "Oh, so you don't have to work a lot?" I said like, "Oh no, I work a lot and I write a lot," and then at some point something happens, and I get this kind of like inspiration, and I write something, and mostly those big hits are like written very very fastly. And it's
it comes as a flow.
But I can't control it. I can't say. I have friends who are good at that. They can say like, today I'm gonna write a hit. But I still think like, yeah, you can write a catchy tune. Yeah, I can write a catchy tune. That's not a problem. But it's the magic thing, It's not just a catchy tune. There needs to be something, It's capturing energy, recording music, and you have to capture the right energy at the right time. And then suddenly there can be something magic about it. And then you get an evergreen, It's I always say to people like, the difference between an evergreen and a classic song. An evergreen will make you some money on Spotify.
All right, still no guitar says stream gets Minecrafty at times. I think that's because
Yeah, we're in a bunker.
We're surrounded by 9 tons of sand here, and nobody can hear us scream. And,
yeah, you could kill me, and then, like my wife wouldn't have noticed. Next door.
He also says, I used to play bass years ago. I still have my 90s Shack carbon bass. Today's joints don't enjoy me playing.
I just bought like that Rickenbacker behind you.
Oh right, careful not to bump into it then, because I can't afford to.
It's an expensive one. It's
Rickenbacker.
Yeah, it's like it's a 4005.
Oh my god! No, 4005. Is that the one that you had to get from England?
Yeah, that's the one I had to get from England. I had to pay a lot of import taxes. But I couldn't find it anywhere. I was really looking for it already for months, and for some kind of reason, only in England I could find them. Yeah, so yeah, and I wanted already one for a long time. So I said like, it's like in the 80s, Echo and the Bunnymen and all those bands and on the Stone Roses, they played on Rickenbackers, and since that time I'm like connected with the brand.
I mean, do you have any sort of more recent influences?
Yeah, more recent influence. Although no, I have to say I'm a lot of my influences are 60s and inspirations like Morricone, John Barry. Was always like very very very. I was always a very big fan of their work. Big Dale, surf guitar.
Yeah, Misery Lou and all that.
All that stuff. But yeah, of course, like I listen to all kinds of music. I'm really like, I'm a very eclectic. Music is also quite eclectic, I think. It's very difficult to kind of pinpoint the genre what we play.
Yeah, I notice you sometimes have like classical musicians on stage with you playing.
Yeah, well, a lot of the records from the second record on, we had a lot of real string orchestras and French horns and stuff like that. And so that was basic. I think that was mainly the influence of the early Bowie records. Like the first Bowie record was a big influence at that moment. Gainsbourg, French artist Serge Gainsbourg was a big influence, and I think, but strings of course, Massive Attack was an influence. They started around 1991, and I really liked what they did. I think that was, and I was also very much into electronic music. So I was like in school, I was really weird because like in the 80s, I don't know if people know, but in the 80s you had to choose. Like you were like an indie rocker, or you were like an electro kind of guy, or you liked synth pop, and I kind of like listening to. And the next day I was listening to the Pet Shop Boys. You know, like I wasn't really like that kind of, and I think that you can hear that in our music, that I listened to so many different kind of styles, that it's.
Yeah, I mean, it seems altered these days, that the sort of that tribalism that you were talking about in the 80s, that has generally sort of dissipated.
That just disappeared. If you talk to young kids now, one night they go to like a kind of like very poppy band, and the next day they go to a death metal concert, and it's like, you know, I think. Also, I think it was like, you know, the 80s were also it was also the decade where it was very snobbish sometimes, you know, like also when, you know, my parents had financial troubles, they would go to Aldi because it was a cheaper supermarket. Like that was like a disgrace in those days. So your parents are shopping at Aldi. Nowadays, you know, kids they use it as a statement, a bag of Aldi, you know, like it's which is a good thing, I think, you know, like I think it's I don't like that kind of snobbish kind of things. Like yesterday, our singer had like a really nice purse. I said like, oh yeah, that's a nice purse, and she said like, yeah, I don't know, yeah, but it's really cheap. I said like, I don't care, it's a nice purse.
Yeah, if it
know,
looks
like,
all right, you know, what's the problem? Yeah.
Like in our house is a 50s architect's house, you know. There's like expensive stuff, but there's also very cheap stuff. It's always a combination, and it's like with guitars, you know. This is an expensive one, but I also play on cheap guitars, and they sound great, you know. It's just a matter of tune them up right and like make sure they're like well maintained. And I don't connect to gear that much. When people say like, if this would burn down, what would you do? I said like, I'll start something new, and I'll buy a new guitar, and that will inspire me and make me write another song.
So you don't feel particularly attached.
I'm not attached to physical to no. I'm definitely attached to people, but I'm not attached to stuff. You know, like materialism is for me is not that important. It's kind of, and it was always a bit like that. I just. If I am attached to an instrument, then it's only gonna be the sound of the instrument I'm attached to. And so if I can buy another exact copy of the bass, I'm not attached to it.
Yes, there's no sentimental value
to
it. Yeah.
But if it would be one of a kind, then of course it becomes, maybe I'm like then it becomes a bit more difficult. But so I'm more attached to sounds and to. That's also why it's so dark in here, you know. Like people say, like, so you live in you work in a dark spot. I'm like, yeah, because I want to kind of be focusing on sounds. I don't want any kind of like, you know, I don't want no influences from outside, you know. Like I want to be listening all the time, more than watching things. So for me, the kind of boudoir vibe in this place kind of. Helps me focus.
So you focus more in the boudoir.
I focus more in the boudoir than in an open space with a lot of windows, and then I see birds flying around, and then I'm like, you know, and then I see people walking by, and then I'm distracted, you know. Like, although I have to say, I am good at like being on a plane and work on a plane, and I just put my noise cancellation earphones, and I would write like music, you know. Like,
well, I mean, I wish I'd had noise cancellation headphones when I flew to Japan.
I can imagine. When I flew back from Frankfurt, like right before Christmas, like there was like this young, there was a baby who was crying all the time.
Yeah.
I was very happy with my noise.
I mean, I tried to sleep. No.
It's a long trip.
Yeah.
It's a long trip. That's the only disadvantage, I think.
What? How about a 1176 compressor? What? What's it about?
I have an 1178 over there, an original one. Like this is now for like
yes.
gear tech.
It's gear tech, you know,
gear
like...
sluts. Even that kind of like, you know, like no. You can still find them if you want.
What do we look? Which one is what? I mean,
that is the 1178. It's actually a double 1176.
It looks like a 70s stereo.
It's a 70s stereo, yeah, but it is also from the 70s, and that's actually a more rare thing. That's like an original Neve 3030 609. That's a really good compressor. But to be honest, don't say it too loud. Nowadays in the computer, we mix in the box and. Yeah. I have a lot of friends with a lot of gear, and sometimes you use it, but quite often you just use the computer.
Yeah, just yeah. This is like the control center.
It's like a keyboard, and yeah, that's it. Like and even controllers or whatever. I'm from I used to make some big large consoles, like on like SSLs, and of course the cool thing about that is it helps it straight away. If you make mistakes, they're never that big. It's kind of like it just gives you a computer there's no emotion in a computer, and for some kind of reason like a mixing desk had like some it had personality. It adds straight away to whatever you were mixing. But on the other hand, like we also had to mix one song a day, which was an advantage because you had to do it. But then afterwards, sometimes you weren't happy with the mix, and then the record company would only pay for a recall. They called it like if it was really a serious mistake, and otherwise it would stay. But on the other hand, some people say like, yeah, but that was just a nice thing, isn't it? Like the mistake stayed in, so that kept it very human and very kind of like. But I have to say, working in a computer is like you have to fight with the computer with a mixing. Couple of years to kind of get to a point where I thought like, yeah, now.
So it's not basically a digitalized version of your mixing desk.
No. People who say that, it's not true.
No, so
it's not true. No, it's kind of. I've worked long enough on analog consoles to know the difference, but I have to say, you can in the end you can make really good mixes on the computer. It's just like something that you need to kind of. It's probably easier for a young kid who never worked on a console and he always has to work in the computer. So but if you're used to work a certain way, it's very difficult to unlearn it. You kind of like. So it took me a while to kind of get away from the way I was thinking and to start thinking in the digital realm.
Yes, this is the thing. I mean, we're talking about young people and on computers, and yeah, it's like
in the end, like I always say to people, it's just a tool. It doesn't matter if it's a Real 1178 or it's a plug-in or whatever. They're just tools. In the end, it's what's here and what's here that is important. So there's like huge hits that were done with nothing, with just like a couple of like stock plugins from Logic, like on a laptop, on shitty speakers. It's kind of like I'm sometimes amazed how some people can just do fantastic stuff with little. It's like a great guitar player can play on a cheap guitar and it still will sound great. A bad guitar player will play on an expensive guitar and it still will sound shit. It's kind of like. So in the end, they're only tools. So I'm not in that kind of. I don't do that discussion. Analog is better or digital or whatever.
But I mean,
they both have their advantages and their disadvantages, and in the end, it's the guy who's doing it that makes the difference. So also AI, like I use AI as well. Like I do some on my demos. I do some AI mastering. I have to say it's getting really good. But mixing, I tried mixing as well. No, it's kind of like, it's like the mix. What makes my mixes always my mixes is like the strings are too loud and the snare drum is too loud. It's like how I work, but it's also my signature. It's how I sound. Computer will sound boring, so I'm not afraid. I think AI can be helpful. It can really help you, but in the end, I still believe that it's just a tool like a computer or a mixing desk or a compressor or an EQ or whatever, or a cup of tea in the morning, because that's an inspiration as well.
That's true. I mean, the difference between, for example, if you spend ages mixing something and you get it to the degree that you want it, and then it becomes sort of popular. How do you then sort of go on stage and recreate or do you just like say, okay, no, we'll just do it?
That is something difficult for me, of course, because I mixed it, and then I have to let it go. I have to give it to somebody else. Of course, we have like a sound engineer, and it's always the same sound engineer already for years now. I have to say it changed. That changed a lot. It's like, for instance, like, you know, when people ask me what changed a lot in your job, then the first answer would be it became a lot more solitary.
Yeah.
Because when we were mixing a records back in the days, it was in an expensive studio, so everybody had to be there. Like the drummer, the bass player, the guitar player, the singer, we were all there.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy mixing. At 4 PM, we listened to a first mix and we said like, we want to change this, that. Okay, then we went like, you know, to watch DVDs, go for a walk, whatever. And then like around 2 at night, we were all there, like, you know, like about 2 in the morning actually. 2 AM, we were like sitting, gathering again, listening again. Everybody okay with it? Yeah, okay, yeah, we're gonna print it. You know, we put it on tape, on analog tape. Then we went to bed. The next morning at 10, we were in the studio again. Yeah. So we hardly slept. and we listened again with fresh ears. We listened and then we looked at it. Everybody is okay. Okay, next song. Yeah. So we would kind of be there together, decide together. Nowadays, I mix a song, I send it
digitally,
MP3 it to everybody who is on the records, to the record company. They give me, they reply. If you're lucky, they send you a reply. If you're not lucky, they just like say nothing. And so that changed. And the live like we used to rehearse like for 3 weeks, like 9 to 6, like, you know, every day, like 5 days, like, and then at least 20 days we were rehearsing with the band constantly. Nowadays, like a couple of weeks ago, we're now like, you know, like we're prepping a new tour, the Magnificent Tree Tour. It's like an album we released in 2000. It's 25 years old, and it's like our most iconic record. And so we're going on the road playing that record. So nowadays, we have like a very good rehearsal space in Lokeren. We go there, we put up all the gear. We prepared everything up front. In 2 days, we play all the songs, 30 songs, and we record them in multi-track. So we really recording like we would have recorded them in a studio. Yeah. Nowadays, that's possible because the mixing desk we use live is actually also a multi-track recorder. So the guy gives it to me, like the sound engineer gives it to me. I come to my studio, I mix it like a week. I'm like mixing all these songs. Then I'm listening. That is not okay. That sound is not like it should be. Maybe this sound should be louder, whatever. Then in a couple of weeks we come back, we do production rehearsals, we adapt everything. We're gonna do some rehearsals for the vocals, and that's it. So 4 weeks of rehearsing, we now do in 4 days. Wow. 5 days. Yeah. And you know, like, because I mix it here, I send everybody like the multi-track mixed files, and they can rehearse at home as much as they want, when they want. Yeah. But again, more solitary.
Yeah, I was going to say, so like the band doesn't hang out much.
Well, no. And then we go on the road, and then we're on a month. For a month, we're on a tour, but it's 24/7.
Yeah.
Then we hang out a lot. Then you have like a day off in some city, and there's already people that you don't see anymore. They're like, they lock themselves up in their hotel room. And I'm mostly most of the time I'm the guy saying, "Come on, let's go and paint the town. Like, let's." But of course, like,
let's go and get some tea.
yeah, definitely. So that's sometimes we spend a lot of time together, and sometimes we don't see each other for 3 months or something.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we call it, you know.
Yeah. It's like,
we talk. It's not that we don't talk, but it's. But this year we're gonna be touring like for like three months or something. So 3 months of the year we're gonna be together all the time. So then also like at some point you also think like, no, I had enough. Maybe see you guys in a couple of weeks.
And do you when you're touring, do you like do you do festivals and stuff? Or do
of course. Yeah.
And do you hang out with the other bands? Or do you not see them much anymore? Like,
no, sometimes, you know, like sometimes you do meet other bands, sometimes you don't. It depends. And some bands are really like approachable, and others are very, very kind of like.
I mean, do you have any sort of like buddies within that you've developed over the years? Sort of like.
Do we have buddies? That's a good question. Yeah, of course. Well, but that's mainly like the guys from Triggerfinger. I know them very well because the drummer used to play with us, and he was like for 5 years on the road with us. So definitely. But Yeah, I know a lot of people, but I have I have to admit that I'm not that kind of like when I'm not working, I'd rather sit down with a chef and talk about food or something.
Yeah.
Or I'd
Yeah.
rather go to
Yeah.
my Chinese tea buddy and talk about tea, or I kind of
Yeah,
like,
you don't go out and paint the town red with like
of course,
the other bands. You know?
but of course, I know a lot of bands. You know, like especially Belgian bands. It's a very small country, so we know each other. Of course, we
Yeah.
know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, international bands. Do you sort of?
Well, we used to tour a lot with Morchiba and with Massive Attack. We did a tour, and but you know, like I'm not the guy that keeps
Contact, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not actually, to be honest. But there was like a promoter thinking about like doing like a double bill with Morchiba, so then maybe we'll meet again, and then it's like, you know,
Old times.
yeah. But you know, like the touring with like in Massive Attack was like in around, I think, Mezzanine, that album. We toured with them in Germany, actually. We did Germany and Scandinavia. They were really nice, you know. Like we got along very well. But then again, you know, you're always so busy. It's like when I want to see a band, like, you know, the Liminianas are coming to Brussels. A friend calls me, "Oh, you want to go?" I said, like, "Yeah, I want to go, but I'm on the road myself." So I'm quite often I'm not available.
Yeah, it's ironic.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
It's like, you know. That's like the other idea. Like when I was 10, I wanted to become a musician or a chef. I still had that option because my grandfather was a chef, and I like cooking anyway.
Ah, right. Oh, that's. I didn't know that. Your grandfather was a chef.
Yeah. My great grandmother was a chef as well, and my mom went to culinary school as well. So it's like
So you kind of like picked it up.
It was like when I was 5, I was learning how to cook. You know, like my mom was at home with the kids, like how it was in those days.
Just happened that music took the priority.
Yeah, well, the music. My dad was very much into music. He listened a lot to music, and he was also very eclectic. So his record collection definitely influenced me. But also silly stuff. When I was 16, I fell in love with a girl called Manon. And then, you know, like I came home from school, and there was this album, a Serge Gainsbourg album, you know, like, and there was a song Manon on it, and I listened to that track, and it has a beautiful string arrangement. I think that moment I fell in love with strings, and I forgot about Manon already. You know? It's like,
Okay.
as like the strings, like that's where I think the first time I really kind of was impressed by a string arrangement. And there's a couple of more, like I said, like the orchestrations on the first Bowie record, even before Space Oddity, the one before, he made it was actually an album for kids. It was like, you know, like with Uncle Arthur and Sell Me a Coat and the Laughing Gnome, and you know.
Oh, the Laughing Gnome! I've heard of the Laughing Gnome. The other ones I hadn't heard of.
The other ones are actually, you should check it out. It's a fantastic record, and those arrangements are just beautiful. I think, like, you know, I started listening to it in the early 90s, and that also kind of got me into that orchestral kind of stuff. That can dance, I have to say. Some new wave influence. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I was also very much influenced by shoegaze and dream pop.
Right.
Cocktail Twins, Slow Dive, that kind of My Bloody Valentine. So.
I was more a Cramps person at that point.
Cramps, yeah. Poison Ivy. There was like, and then you had, like, you know, of course, the whole garage rock scene, like, you know, like here in Belgium you had the Paranoiacs, and then you had like in England you had what was it called, the Chesterfield Kings. They were great. But I also listened a lot to 60s music because I was raised in the 80s, and it's always like 20 like. Kids nowadays listen a lot to end of the 90s. You know, beginning of 2000 is now getting really hot again.
Yes, because it's that old.
Because they were born, but hardly born, or not born yet. And their parents are getting into some kind of midlife crisis, and they want to listen to the music from when they're young again, to kind of like be kind of flashed back in time, you know. Like, so you get like two audiences. You get like people who listen to it because they're melancholic, and you have kids who kind of think like, "Whoa, this is cool. This is new."
Yeah.
It's like so, and that's well, for us. That was the '60s. It was the Beatles and the Stones, but also the Electric Prunes and
I had too much to dream last night.
Yeah, like all that kind of stuff. All these young, these indie underground kind of psychedelic bands, you know, like and that kind of was also for me a big influence. And then of course, like you had bands like the Stone Roses who were influenced by that.
Yeah.
So that's why they played Rickenbackers. Of course. so yeah, but that's the cool thing. It's all a circle, you know. It's all a circle. Like now we're playing the Magnificent Tree, and you see like you know those shows sell well because people say like, oh, that was a fantastic record. We want to hear it again.
So all the mums and dads come.
And then also combined with a lot of kids, and that's always the cool thing. You see a mix of like kids who like learn to know it through their maybe also through the record collection of their dad and mom or whatever. But so we are like on Spotify for artists, you can see that our audience is quite like well kind of balanced between 20 and 65, you know. So and that's what we see as well at live gigs. And also depending on where you are, if we're playing in Romania, in Bucharest, we see a lot more young kids. And if we play in Belgium, of course, in a theater, you see more older people. But if you play at a festival, you see more young kids. So it's really depending where you play. That's making a big difference.
Do you have a preference?
I like France to be honest. I like to play in France.
No, I was thinking more of the venue style.
The venue style. No, I don't have a preference. I like the kind of like combination of things. Like the tour we're doing now, we play some evenings we play like a very beautiful classical halls. We're playing with a string quartet, you know, so beautiful classical halls like in Poland and in Skopje. And then we would play in a rock and roll club in Prague, and then we would play, you know, so it's every night is different. And then we would play like in a classical hall in Istanbul, very beautiful hall. That's like Istanbul is for us is a very important city. It's like we get a lot of streamings on Spotify in Istanbul, and when we play there, a lot of people.
It's, quite unusual. You know, you don't really see much in it. I mean, I go to a Turkish barber, and all he has on the screen is like Turkish pop music.
But Istanbul is a bit like New York, you know, like or London. It's like New York is not the States. It's like an entity on its own. It's like it's a metropole. Same with Istanbul. It's a very interesting melting pot of all kinds of cultural things. And it's a very cool city actually. Very good food as well.
I'm not familiar with Turkish food.
Very nice. If you get to the right place, really, really, really good food.
Alex knows the spots.
What you like? What?
Alex knows the spots.
Oh yeah. I know a very good spot.
Well, the time has come, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Already?
Yes. Okay. I shall tap the screen twice. Then you can actually see that there is a host here, sat in the swivel chair, trying not to knock the Rickenbacker over. And very bright. I'm getting the full effect of the light here. But I'd like to thank my host, Alex.
See you at Skippy's.
Yes. People who are on Discord know that I met Alex and his wife at Skippy's because we're regular customers there, and they introduced us there. And so I'd like to once again thank Alex for a wonderful interview, and I shall be talking to him further and having more tea probably.
Yeah, we only poured it once actually. We were talking all the time.
But for now, I'd like to also thank the audience for joining, and to say next week on Simon's Living Room, not a clue. This was pure luck that Alex was kind enough to give me an interview. So next week I could be going back playing a game again, or I could be wandering about in the countryside or a town, or just sat in my room boring the socks off you with wine. I've been very good. Today. I've not had much in the way of alcohol.
Yeah. That's my very good influence.
Yes. I've been very healthy. I had green tea, very nice green tea. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and see you all again next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye, Alex.
Bye.